Hi, I'm Mayce.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between. Well, hi, bestie.
Hey, bestie, how are ya?
I am good, loving being on a podcast day.
Yes, well, we are closing in on the end of the year. I can hardly believe it. Can you believe it?
I can't. I mean, it's been such like a fun and exciting year for us, launching the podcast and really connecting with some amazing leaders.
I know, it's been so fun. And today is no exception. We have got a leader with us who we both just love and adore. So before we dive into today's quote and talk about it, we are going to welcome Mrs. Calli Thorne. Welcome, Calli.
Yay! We're so glad you're here, Calli.
Yes,
so good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on here.
We adore you. You're a powerhouse leader and an incredible mom and woman and friend. And so tell our guests more about you. There's so much to unpack, and I'm excited to share you with our listeners.
Well, I always say whenever somebody invites me on their podcast or show, whatever, I mean, it's very humbling for me because I know that's your audience. Those are your people, and you're willing to invite me to get to meet them as well and stuff. So yeah, my name is Calli Thorne. Oh, I do wear a few different hats. I try to speak really clearly when I say this, but I am from North Dakota. So I often get comments, yep, we knew that. But up in the northwest corner, so it is about an hour from Montana and 2 hours from Canada. Where our
cold
place
country.
Is. Oh yeah, I mean it's been below
really
freezing,
cold.
Of course. Yep, we get snow for sure.
Yeah.
So I've been here for multiple generations. My family actually is heavily tied into agriculture, and we farm and ranch, and so that's where I live. Fun fact: I live in my grandma and grandpa's house that they built in the 60s on our operation, and then when they moved to town. I grew up in that house when I was, I suppose, in high school and stuff. My parents moved into it, and now it's my family growing up in that place. So yeah, pretty cool. The multiple generations, lots of horses, lots of cattle. We've got a feed lot, cow calf. We could dive into as much agriculture as you guys want to learn. So I've got that going on. I've got 3 kids right now. They are 14, 12, and 8 years old. So that comes with a lot of adventures and activities.
Yes, it does.
I mean, it's fun. It's a fun time a fun time to practice, I think, your yeses and your nos and where you want to spend your time. So doing that every day. Yeah. And then I'm a certified team member with the John Maxwell team. So I do a mix of speaking, training, coaching. I run a lot of masterminds, even women's groups. And it's fun, the arena that I get to work in, because a lot of times it is agricultural groups, but then I'm also in front of oil field companies and banks, and a good mix, which is fun. Yeah. And then we own a USDA federally inspected beef plant in a nearby town.
How about that?
So that's another adventure. Exactly.
Love it. Well, today we're going to focus on a great quote. It is by, I would say, Macy and I claim that it's our favorite person who coins quotes. It's that Anon. And here is the quote for the week, Calli. It is, impact isn't a role. It's who you decide to be in every moment. So girls, let's talk about it.
It's a good one.
It is.
I feel like this is a really powerful quote. So Calli, we're going to start with you. What do you think of when you hear this quote? I'll say it again. Impact isn't a role. It's who you decide to be in every moment.
I mean, I just love it.
I think that's the thing people don't always think about. It's, we're in front of a bunch of people today and I'm speaking on a stage, or I've got a room full of a board that I'm on and a bunch of, and so it's like, who do I present myself as then versus is it different when I'm behind closed doors? And I think I often, when I'm speaking to groups though too, I tell them, man, it's fun to be in front of some big crowds. I mean, you can just feed off them. It's energizing. But I say my biggest crowd is my most impactful crowd. And that's those three little faces that when I get home tonight, they're watching me. They watch me every day get up and do a workout. They watch me do my mile. They see what I eat. They see how I treat people. They see how I talk on the phone. I mean, whatever. And so I think no matter what it is, it's those little everyday moments. And man, people probably get sick of like the saying, it's in the little things, like
but
how
it
you
is.
do
Yeah.
the little things really do add up for people.
They do.
It's so interesting because you talk about that the greatest impact you make is right there. And I think people are always looking for to make that impact or that purpose, but really we're planted in that, aren't we? Like we're planted where we'll make impact and purpose. Anyway, I digress, but just thinking about that and thinking about your agriculture took me there. But okay. So Calli, you mentioned you've got a varied background. Macy, I think we can admit that Calli is the first rancher that we have interviewed.
Can we call you a cowgirl? Can we call you cowgirl?
Yeah, I mean, cowgirl Calli. Oh my gosh, I love it. Do you ever get that? Like, did you get that growing up, Calli?
No, probably because I'm in an area that we have to, like, this is the norm.
Everybody is, yeah.
There's lots of people that farm and ranch, and if they don't, I mean, they come visit the place. So, and I sometimes forget how unique and rare our way of life is. Truly, you know, what we get to do, what we are part of. I realize most people are 3-4 generations removed from the things we get to do. You know, your great grandparents probably did what I get to do today in a different way.
My grandparents did, right? Being from Mississippi, there was land and there were animals, there was a farm. And I still have some of my cousins and stuff that are still doing that.
I'm pretty sure no one in my family has ever ranched.
Mom,
if you're listening, Nancy, if you're listening, I know she's listening. We have no cowgirls and cowboys in our family, do we?
There had to be a wagon train involved here or there. You never know. They had to go by horse.
That's right.
I don't know.
It's obvious, right, to all of us that you live leadership across ranch work, a processing plant, coaching, speaking. How do you navigate? You actually even mentioned that you wear a lot of hats. How do you navigate switching those hats and really staying true to your leadership identity in each space?
No, that's a good question. I think what a lot of people don't realize is it becomes a practice, right? It's kind of like the quote earlier, it's who you are. And it doesn't matter if I am up at a beef plant and working with, we have about 10 employees up there, or it's me and I've got an assistant that helps me kind of with my speaking training. I also do mental health first aid training. And so she helps a lot with that. But I also just came from an EDC meeting, economic development. I'm on job development. I mean, a lot of things within my community. And then I'm a parent in the basketball stands or rodeo stands, whatever we might be at. And it's like, I hope, and I work really hard that no matter where I'm at, people can say, Calli is this person, right?
Yes. The authenticity of it.
Yeah, even when the hats are changing, does the person, I think, says a lot about someone, you know, how they might show up in one arena versus another. And I think that's on you and who you've practiced being. And I always say that doesn't mean it can't change. Your habits, your priorities, things like that can change and tweak as life ebbs and flows and kids and life. But that's a practice that I think people have to commit to and see for themselves.
So
I kind of look at it as like for you, again, I'm calling you cowgirl Calli, right? Like having a cowgirl hat on, taking it off, but you are still who you are at the core. You've proven that to us. I mean, we know you, so we know that you are who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. Right? Always.
Yeah.
A question I have is, you mentioned, you know, growing up fourth generation agriculturist with your husband and your kids. What would you say is the greatest leadership lesson you have learned from the ranch?
Ooh, that's good, Macy.
I think what's tricky about that industry and just ranching is in that business alone, you wear so many different hats. I mean, you have to play vet one day and then you have to play counselor the next hour, and then you're the chief financial officer. And I mean, it is wild when I really sit with people in agriculture because it's so hard. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize I am the agronomist. I'm all these different hats and roles. But I think probably the biggest lesson I have learned, and most in agriculture would probably not say this, but how much your mindset plays into your success, or however you want to define success. It's for so many, it's such a monetary thing, but I think there's so much more to that. And our industry struggles along with a handful of other, we rank really high in mental health challenges. And I think I have realized how much your mindset plays a direct correlation in the result, how much enjoyment you have. I actually told another company, just was interviewed by them the other day, having some conversation. And I said, I think the biggest challenge is we think the next generation is just supposed to come into this business, and it might be agriculture, it might be something different. But I said, I think a lot of people don't consider, is this a business I am building that they want to come back to? Like, is there any fun and enjoyment in it? Because sometimes we lose that picture and it's work, work, work.
Yeah. And statistics show that people perform, succeed, and do better when they're having fun. But one thing I thought about as you were talking about agriculture and the mental health issues is that really a lot of it is out of your hands, out of your control, which plays right into my next question, because Macy and I know that you're a woman of faith. We are also women of faith, and we know your faith is very important to you. You have shared with us that being the hands and feet of Jesus is a motivator. So how does your faith influence your leadership decisions in practical daily terms when managing a ranch, a business, a team?
Family even.
Yeah, family.
I think about that a lot, because we're handed a lot of circumstances or things that are beyond our control in a lot of different businesses, but heavily in agriculture, from weather to markets, all the different things that are given to us. And I think I have learned, I often used to think, man, I've studied mindset a lot. I do a lot of coaching. And so I understand the brain and how it works and how it's trying to keep us safe and play it safe. And, I don't know if you should try that. And what's another perspective? What's another way I could look at this? And I think everybody has that in life. They have the hard and they have the good. They have the highs and the lows. And so if I know how to handle myself, how do I want to show up no matter what the situation is? I've just really prided myself on the brain side and the time and effort I put into that. But the more I've always been a person of faith, but the more I continue to grow and learn, the more I realize, I think I've just really leaned into him a lot more on, okay, this is the situation. I mean, give me the peace, help me find the path, and we're going to handle it. Like, I just think with God, everything is figure outable.
Yeah. All things are possible. Yeah.
Was there a time, and it may not be like a long period of time, or maybe it was just a moment where you were almost questioning your leadership? Like maybe you weren't sure you were being the leader that you wanted to be or you were supposed to be. And how did you handle or respond to that?
Probably every day. No.
No.
Ongoing.
And, kind of, though. I mean, you sit back and you're like, that conversation, I could have showed up a little bit differently or a little bit better. I mean, that's just the reality of being a leader. And I think recognizing where maybe I could have done better. I know there's a handful of situations of where you're like, ooh, did I say that right? Or was I too much? Or because I'm kind of a straight shooter, and it's like, hey, let's just put this out there bluntly. Like, here's what's happening. Here's another perspective. How are you going to choose to show up? Because I have learned I can't control people in life. I mean, hopefully everybody has realized that by now. And it's like, that's out of my hands, how they want to take it, how they want to interpret it, but know that I am here to pour into you. And I'm doing it because I love you. I care about you as a human. And then what's probably the best is when they come back and they say, hey, thanks for that conversation. Yeah. It meant a lot. Or I think even more so, probably even more with my mental health training, a lot of conversations, a lot of hard topics. And somebody, it was recently, they came up to me, I ran into them at a retail shop in town, and it was probably a year ago. They took the training from me on mental health. And she just said, I wanted you to know, I still implement that training almost every day. And I just had a hard conversation recently, she said, and I was able to use those tools, and it paid off. So
Calli, one of the things that Missy and I really try to preach with people that we train is reflection, because when you stop and reflect and really think about things that you could have done better. So is reflection something that you've incorporated into your day, or is it just when you happen to reflect? I think I know the answer, but I'm asking for the sake of the listeners.
Well, I would say in reality, the right answer feels like it should say, I take time to meditate and reflect and journal every day, and I don't. I mean, I really do. I will say I'm fortunate. I live about 30 minutes from the nearest town. I mean, that's just how it is out here. And so I have a lot of drive time, even from our ranch up to the beef plant, that's an hour. And so I get a lot of drive time in our area. And so I think that provides, if I'm not listening to a book or podcast or something, it's let me sit and think and reflect on things. And I do have, if you guys haven't heard of 1 line a day journals, that is the coolest thing ever. So it's just a really small space where I can write down thoughts or things that happen from the day. And it lists 5 years at a time. So like tonight, when I write in that just a little bit, I can see what happened today, a year ago. I can see what happened today, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I love to gift it.
So it's called just 1 line a day?
1 line a day journal. It's smaller size too and stuff. And you only have so much space to write. So it's not like, oh, I've got to write a page in the journal, but it's cool.
Oh, we'll add a link to that too, Macy. Remind me in our description, and I'm going to get one of those. Okay, so Calli, many of our listeners are managers, supervisors, directors, and in a variety of industries. What are some actions that managers or small business owners can take right now to embody leadership in the every moment sense that we're talking about?
Mm-hmm. One thing that I talk to a lot of people about that we kind of skip over, I think, is they need to be clear, everybody, but in their situations, even they need to be clear on what their values and priorities are, because they're the people with a lot on their plate. And I heard this recently from a women's group that I'm running right now of, man, it's hard to say no, or I don't know which to say yes to, but it becomes pretty clear if you know what's important to you. And I get that can kind of ebb and flow, personal life versus your professional life and stuff, but it does make it easier, I think, to show up and have conversations that way. And I think it's so important for people in those leadership positions to lead by example. You know, if they're encouraging people to take time off, enjoy their vacation days, or when you're sick, stay home, or show up at your kids' games, whatever it might be, they're watching you. One of my favorite quotes is, more is caught than it's taught. Mm-hmm. And I think about that all the time with my kids, even, or with my employees, or whoever's watching me. It's like, well, Calli says this, but does she live this way? And I think that can be seen a lot in organizations and businesses. It's like, well, are they walking the walk?
Yeah, well, John Maxwell says people do what people see, right?
We just talked about that in a training this morning with a participant who had an aha that like it was really happening and creating a ripple effect. Yeah, like you cannot do one thing. You can't say stay home when you're sick and go to the office and be sneezing and sniffling and all of that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Calli, if someone's listening and they feel stuck, let's say between the operations piece and leadership, what would you say to help them overcome, that stuckedness? Because that's where you sit, right? You run operations, you're in a leadership role, and sometimes people don't know which hat to put on. So stuckedness, Macy. Stuckedness? Is that a word? I made it up. If it's not, isn't it a new word? I love it. We've made up words before, so stuckedness it is. I like it.
Somebody said that just the other day. They're like, hey, if I spoke it out loud, it is a word then.
Yes, it's a word. Stuckedness.
One of my coaches years ago said this, and it always stuck with me. And she said, because I would often struggle like, ooh, should I chase this or should I be doing this or how do I do that? And like things that were really important to me. And even if I'm down scheduling my day, what do I want to fit in? It's like the reality of how can it be? This is just the basic question. How can it be both and? Like, what if it could be both? You know, I think there shouldn't be a separation. What if we can be doing all the systems and the corporate work and running our businesses and should be a leader too? So how is it both and? And I just love tying them together and seeing, can it work? I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could look at that and view it in different situations. But I think when it comes to that, it's a both and. It's together and they should be mixed that way.
I love that.
I like it too. Okay, so as we think about the quote, I'll repeat it again. Impact isn't a role. It's who you decide to be in every moment. The every moment piece, do you have a recent everyday decision that had bigger impact than you expected? Like something that you went through, chose to do, an interaction that ended up being a much bigger impact than what you thought?
I think of something even more personal, but then how it probably will end up impacting many more. You know, you just make those little decisions every day.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I finally completed an ultra marathon this summer. I've tried it twice before.
Congratulations.
Good for you.
Didn't quite finish the first 2 times, which that is a whole.
Wait, explain for our listeners,
Yeah.
also known as explain for Mayce and Missy.
M&M.
What is an ultra marathon?
So an ultra is anything over a marathon. So a marathon is
Okay,
26.2 miles.
Right.
So my friend one year said, hey, let's do 58 miles. And I said, yes. And this is the very short version. Oh, there's so many stories I can tell from this, but long story short, the first year I only made it 40 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I couldn't even walk 40 miles.
Right. See, though, this is like a leader's mind of where do we go? We go to I didn't finish. The goal was 58 and I made it 40. So that's where I do a lot of
celebrating that 40. Like you should celebrate that 40, but you're like, but I didn't finish. I didn't get to the goal.
Yeah.
But I missed it by 18 miles. And that's how a lot of our brains work. Yes. So I've learned so much from that. The second year I made it 46 miles. A thunderstorm took us out, long story short. And so took the next year off. And then this year, just a few months ago, I did it. I completed the 58.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was quite an adventure to say the least.
The fact that you even said yes and signed up for something like that wouldn't even be something either one of us would entertain.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't even sign up for 5Ks.
So now I've lost a lot of people just at the fact, yes. And it's in the Badlands in Western North Dakota, the rolling Badlands. I mean, it's some rough country, but hey, I like challenges. So that's
apparently.
Yes, you do. And we're impressed.
Yes.
So I ran into somebody here in town just a couple weeks after I completed it, and they had heard about it and stuff. And they said, what's the next challenge? I mean, they know me that it was pretty funny that they asked that. They're like, so what's next?
What's next? Yeah.
And I kind of looked at him. I was like, come on, I just finished 58 miles. Like, I haven't decided yet. And he looked at me and he said, you know, it doesn't have to be like a physically grueling task that you take on. Well, fast forward, I decided to do 75 hard.
Yeah, I saw that on your social media.
So great mental and physical challenge, but I completed that. And then it kind of hit me. I was like, I need to turn to my business. Like, what have I not been saying yes to? I mean, and trust me, I've still been working hard, doing all the things, but what have I maybe been like afraid to say yes to? And since we bought this beef plant just a year and a half ago, I realized I hadn't thrown it out there that I was going to do a women's coaching mastermind thing. And so that was laid on my heart. And I thought, let's do it. Let's throw it out there. I might get 5-10 women. And if I do that, they'll have that impact, right? I have had, we just completed week 2 today with this group of women, and there's almost 60 women that signed up.
Oh, Calli, that is
and so I think of that situation, how one thing just kind of leads to the next. My mastermind is called Evolve Mastermind. And I think that's so much of my life is we worry too much about, geez, is this the right yes or the wrong no, or what am I supposed to be doing? And it's like, it'll evolve. Like what am I doing today to make sure personally, professionally, I am evolving and moving forward. And so, I mean, the stories I've already heard, we've literally are a week into it. We just had our second class today, and the stories are pretty powerful of what they're gaining because of my yes, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
So
let me
good.
ask you this, because this is kind of a piggyback to what you're talking about in a sense. Has there been a time that you impacted someone, but it surprised you because you didn't even realize you were leading in that moment, right? Like, I think as leaders, all three of us, we often put on the hat. Like, today I'm going to lead. I'm going to lead a women's group. I'm going to lead a book club. I'm going to lead a group of people that we're training. Like, we're very intentional because that's what we're doing in that moment. But there are times in our lives that we are leading people and we don't realize it. So what's an example that you didn't go out intentionally and say, today I'm going to lead Mary, but Mary later came to you and said, oh my God, Calli, like, thank you for leading me.
Mm-hmm. I tell this story a lot, and honestly, it's the first one that comes to mind right now. And it goes back to, if I can, it goes back to that second year of attempting that 58-mile ultra marathon.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it, but we had about, what did it come down to? 20 miles left or so. I mean, and in a 58-mile run, it's like, oh, I can do that. I mean, that's still a long ways to go.
So beyond my comprehension, but yes, you can do it.
You can do it. You can do it.
And I caught wind. So I made it as far as I had the first time. And I was like, hey, we're doing this now. I'm not going to do this again. Like, second time, let's finish this. And little did I know, I caught wind that my family wasn't around. We're a couple hours from where this race is, but found out that they drove down to it to catch me at the finish line, because word was she's going to finish this year and she's doing good, feeling good and stuff. And so what did I say though? I think I said it earlier. A thunderstorm hits that wasn't expected to hit us. I mean, lightning, we were getting hailed on.
Like, not safe.
Oh, I literally said, I was like, if my children were out in this right now, I would be yelling at them to get in the
Get
house.
Inside.
Like Auntie M.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
About to spin. And so
my friend, a gal in front of me was with, and she had, those walking metal poles that you can use. I mean, I kind of backed off from here because I'm like, geez, I mean, if she gets struck, I don't want it hitting me. So anyways, lots of stories, but we get knocked out because of that. And I stood there in tears when we made the decision, like, hey, I'm going to pull out. And I just found out my family made it down to the town where the finish line is, and they were there waiting for me. And here I was in my mind quitting, right?
Yeah.
And so long story short, end up down in that town, getting showered, cleaned up, trying to walk. You can't walk after you do that many miles. And I crawled into bed that night. My whole family was there. It was in our camper. And I had brought with a Bible study that a group of us were working on at that time that I got to be a part of. And it was sitting by my bed there. And I crawled in and it was opened up and I saw 4 different sticky notes on the inside of that cover. And this was a few years ago. So my oldest, Tylee, was probably 11, 12 years old. And she had written on sticky notes, and I'm paraphrasing now, but it said, "Dear Mom, we are so proud of the 46 miles that you did today." And it said, even if you had only done 1, we would still be so proud of you. And she said, we love you. We're cheering you on, even if you didn't quite hit your goal. And I mean, I remember that to this day, because I know, as hard as it was for me to not finish again 2 years in a row, I thought, I have now learned and looked at it differently and realized that is the best thing my children could have seen, was me not quite finish.
Yes.
And not view it as a failure. I mean, look who came back this third time.
Right.
And there's just so many things I learned about it. And so not that she has necessarily said, hey, thanks for not making the finish line, Mom, but you sometimes see that impact of, man, that was a much bigger lesson for the rest of her life to see that, hey, things don't always go as we plan, but you get to watch how I show up in a situation like that.
So powerful. I mean, that is what impact is really all about. It's about making a difference in someone's life, maybe when we didn't even realize they were looking and listening or paying attention.
Or you think that it didn't go the way that it was supposed to. And it's like, well, who really gets to write the whole story?
Yeah. So let us ask you this kind of as we wrap up. if someone's listening and they feel like they don't have the title, right? Because a lot of people that are listening, oh, I don't lead people, or I don't have a platform to stand on. What would you say to them to inspire them to recognize the impact that they already have?
Yeah, that's good. And I think sometimes platforms, titles, especially this day and age, can be so overlooked, right? That people get too focused on that stuff.
Yeah.
The next thing is just a title, or how many likes did I get, or how many views were on my reel today, and things like that. And I think, as probably all three of us have heard many times, influence is just who you are. It's everybody has it, but the question is, are you using it for good or for bad?
Right.
You know, if you are in front of one or two little kids at home, you have influence. And if you're in front of a stage of 1,000 people, you have influence. And so I think that's what people need to look at, whether it's a one-on-one with somebody or a big giant crowd, you get to have that influence. And so always thinking about, okay, am I showing up the way that I want to, and hopefully making a positive difference in their life.
I love that.
So good. And I think it is actually a great segue into our big takeaway for the week. And so, listeners, if you only take one thing away from this week's episode, let it be this: impact is a daily choice.
Yeah.
It's not a title. It's not a platform. It's what you do daily. Leadership isn't something you step into when it's convenient. It's who you choose to be in those small, ordinary, unfiltered moments, right? So whether you're raising kids or, like Calli, working cattle, speaking on stage, coaching someone through a challenge, your impact is shaped by the posture you bring, not the position that you hold.
Yeah, that's right. People are shaped more by how we show up than what we say, right? And going back to what you said earlier, Calli, when your values stay steady across the different environments, when your character guides your decisions, and when you serve through inspiring and educating and encouraging, that's the ripple effect, right? And that's larger than any role that you will ever have on a nameplate, right? On a name tag. Your consistency is the thing that other people are going to trust and follow.
Well, Calli, this has been so great. Thank you for saying yes to us and joining us today. If our listeners want to stay in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can follow me on social media, look up Calli Thorne. I always say no E on Calli, E on Thorne. And then I've also got a website, callithorne.com. So they can find ways to reach out there as well.
Okay, great. We'll put that in the show notes as well.
And Calli, as we wrap up, we ask this of all of our guests. What is your favorite leadership quote?
Oh, that's a tricky one because I have a couple, but one of my favorites is, I am where I am today because of the choices I have made or that I've allowed others to make for me.
Say that one again.
Yeah. Say it again. And who said it? Was that Calli originally?
It was a good friend, Linda Tupin. She was a national director for Mary Kay. And so I've followed her religiously. And it really takes that personal responsibility and away from victimhood of, I am where I am today because of the choices I have made or that I've allowed others to make for me.
Oh, that is a good one, Calli. Thank you. And listeners, do you have a favorite leadership quote? Send it our way, and we may spotlight it on a future episode.
We'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do?
We're going to talk about it. Bye, Calli. Bye, Bestie. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this show, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast, leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app, and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _ messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.